Good morning, American Dream Makers. This is Dina Krogadal, your American Dream Makers host. Welcome this morning from Arizona. What a beautiful morning it is, and what a beautiful time it is to be an American. I hope you are all doing well. And if you are here watching live, please let us know. Don't be shy. Make some comments in there, ask some questions. We have an amazing guest this morning. She is truly a go-getter. I've known her for several years now here in the Prescott area. And let me tell you, she is on fire and doing so many amazing things and helping so many amazing people. And before I introduce her, though, I do want to ask that if you are watching this, whether you are live or on the replay, if you can share this out, because the message that we have on American Dream Makers is absolutely impacting to other people's lives. And I think sometimes you never know who's listening, even if it's years from now, that little nugget of wisdom can just really change lives. So absolutely go ahead and share it. Let us know you're here. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to American Dream Makers. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and also for sure YouTube. So my next guest, her name is Mishael Wells, and she is a dedicated wellness advocate, and she's very much a resilient entrepreneur whose journey has been shaped by a lot of life experiences. She was raised in the missionary service. She spent 12 years abroad in South America, Mexico, and she has become fluent in Spanish and has immersed in a life of service and cultural understanding, which brings her to what she is doing currently. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring Mishael on because I cannot wait to hear about who she is, get to know her even better. So I'm going to put her on the screen here. Welcome, Mishael. How are you?
Good morning from Arizona. Yeah, I don't look like the kind of person who would speak Spanish, huh? People are always surprised.
But I'm so grateful and glad that you have had that experience, because what an incredible experience to have lived abroad like that.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of background of that, what that was like.
Oh my goodness. So I went through almost like a quasi exchange student type program when I was barely 14. I think it was just a couple weeks before I turned 14, to Peru, just in the Lima, Peru area. I ended up being there for 6 years. Some of the missions I was involved with was going into juvenile centers and being around teenagers, mostly male teenagers, and teaching them about, well, the ministry and God and hope, and not giving up hope, because the justice system for them is pretty severe. And some of these kids had committed crimes out of necessity. So I did that. We also installed electricity and sewer in some of the slums and the favelas down there. It was a really interesting journey. I was there in Peru for 6 years, and I was in Chile for 2.5, and I was in Brazil for 1.5 years. And then I was in and out of Mexico throughout my younger years, and then older years after I returned to the States as well.
Wow. So a big part of your childhood was truly abroad.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. A big part of it. I was in South America from the age of just under 14 to just over 24. So 10 years there, and then in and out of Mexico for a couple years. Yeah. Wow. My first 3 children, I have 5 children. They're all grown now. My first 3 children were born in Peru, Chile, and Brazil. So 2 boys and a girl. They were actually born in those countries.
How interesting. And what was it like? I'm trying to think of, as you're growing up and you're speaking Spanish, and that is the predominant language. Which language did you learn first? Was it English, Spanish?
Yes, because I went to school and stuff here in the States. And so, yes, I grew up speaking purely English. I was never exposed to any other language until I went down to South America. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I didn't just start stumbling my way through Spanish. I kind of didn't speak it for a while. And some of my pastors and leadership down there was like, you know what, let's send her to one of our coupling families that actually speak only Spanish. So I lived with a family that spoke only Spanish for a couple of weeks, and I came back speaking fluent Spanish. So it was all up there. I just wasn't quite using it yet. So I needed to be in a situation to kind of draw it out of me. I was only probably 14 and a half, 15 years old at that time. So after that, I went through a phase of my life where I even dreamed in Spanish. So it was very ingrained in me. I'm a little out of practice now because it's been about 20 years since I spoke it all the time. So, but it definitely comes out of me if I go across the border and am around people who only speak Spanish.
That's amazing. I give you a huge kudos, and what a blessing it was for you to be introduced, to be able to get immersed in cultures outside of the United States. And was there an adjustment for you when you came back to the States and lived?
It was a huge, yes, it was a huge adjustment going. And then it was a huge adjustment coming back. I always tell people, I remember standing in a grocery store looking at all the different types of toilet paper and thinking, why do we need so many different types of toilet paper? Because I wasn't exposed to that as a child before I left. And then coming back as a young mother, you know, we have so much around us here in the States, right? And so much variety. And we don't realize how the rest of the world is not exposed to that. Even when you're in the more wealthier areas, it's not part of what they do. So again, it's been a while, but you know, I've gotten used to it now. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was say, and I think you're right. I think as Americans, many times if we haven't really traveled abroad or had experiences like that, we don't realize how much abundance we truly have in America. Even the poorest of us have more than some of the I guess even some of the affluent people, you know, in some ways, you know, across the countries. And so, wow, very cool, Mishael. And so I would imagine that your experiences as growing up and learning, not only learning a language and becoming fluent, but adapting to different cultures, because you moved around, it sounds like quite a bit.
Yes.
I would imagine that you learned some skills that a lot of people do not learn, because you had to learn to adapt pretty quickly, because even though you're in South America, each country, each area has its own different ways of doing things. Is that correct?
Absolutely. They're all countries. In fact, I visited every country in South America except for Colombia and Venezuela. So while I was down there, I did a lot of traveling. And yes, every country is different. And you kind of study up on that before you go to each country, because you do want to be respectful of cultures, and you do want to be respectful of, you know, different beliefs and just different ways that people relate to things. Because if you can't relate to them, how are they going to relate to you and be able to hear your message and embrace the things that you're trying to accomplish in their cultures too? So for sure. Yeah. And I'm sure that definitely served me later on in life. I'm sure I don't realize how much, but I'm sure it did, because I was so young. And when you're young, you learn things and they stick, right? So,
yeah, they become a part of you.
Yeah, well, for sure.
And as you're speaking here, you know, telling us about this, you know, what goes through my head is you absolutely had an education that most people have to pay for, because when you think about sales, and you've been in the sales industry for quite some time now. When you think about sales, the training is to learn how to read your clients and learn how to adapt to what they need and listen, and you know, and that's the most successful salespeople master that. And Mishael, when I met you, you were the rep for a local title company here in town. And so you absolutely have that skill, very natural in meeting people. And the thing with you is that even after one meeting with you, like even I think the first time we met was maybe a 5-minute conversation, but I felt like I'd known you longer than just those 5 minutes. You know, and so you have a way about you that definitely makes someone feel very comfortable right away. So I guess I might put you on the spot here. I mean, what are some key things that maybe you utilize to have somebody feel so comfortable around you so quickly?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever been asked that before. I know that I have that tendency. I have that gift. Maybe it's a God-given gift. Maybe it comes from my past. I do know that I have it. But I would say the biggest thing is confidence and respect for others and allowing other people to speak their mind. Like, don't talk all the time. Let other people speak. Ask questions that are leading. And I genuinely feel like that about other people too when I'm around them. I feel like there's this kindredness many times with people. I feel like I've known them forever. And I sometimes, even with the friends I've had for, 5 years or something, we'll end up talking about, like, for example, I'll give you an example. My husband is third generation Presbyterian, maybe fourth, but their family's been around since like the 30s. And when you get kind of in that crowd, the town has grown very quickly, right? But when I hang out with people like from his youth, they just feel like I've been there the whole time. Like, they'll share memories and stuff, and I'm just laughing like, yeah, I was 5, but because my husband's a little older than me. But yeah, it's a gift I have. But I think that you do need to be relaxed. One of the biggest tips somebody gave me once was life goes really, really quickly, right? And when you're walking into a meeting, maybe you're walking into a meeting and it's your 5th one of that day, or you've had a back-to-back craziness, right? Or raising children, right? We've got children at home, or dogs, or just household and everything that's going on. For me right now, I'm kind of closing out one chapter of my life and starting another. So things can get really busy. So before walking into that appointment, pray, meditate, breathe, whatever it is that you do, but just kind of sit there and zen out for a second. Think about where you're going, who you're talking to, refresh your mind, and then kind of proceed into your appointment or event or whatever it may be, kind of in a calmer mind, so that you can really not be frazzled and you can focus on whoever it is that's right in front of you at the time.
That's a great tip. And you really touched on, and I know I put you on the spot to come up with that.
But okay, I'm not scared. Go for it.
But those are some really great tips that you had, the confidence and just what you just described. Not only did you say you need to have confidence, but you just gave us a tip on how to gain that confidence going in, because you're right. If you can get your mind in the right space before you head in versus being all nervous and worked up, because we know that when we get emotional and worked up, our brains can't retain information or process information very quick. So sometimes it's hard to be present in that conversation because it's all over the place. So I love that you gave us the tip of, take just a few seconds or, a couple of minutes. Like, don't just rush in there, but just take some deep breaths and get into the zone, and let that peace just overflow in you, so that when you walk in, you don't have this nervous energy, but you just have this calm peace. And Mishael, thank you for sharing that secret, because there is a calm and a peace about you when you do walk into the room. Like, I know you're a very high energy person. So don't get me wrong. It's not like you're slow mo. That's not what I mean. You're
no.
high.
You're right. You're right. I'm high energy. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
But there's a difference about you, because there are people who are high energy and you feel it as soon as they walk into the room. You feel the right away, because that's how it's happening. But with you have a very calm sense about you and a peace that goes about you. And like I said, it's not that you're just calm and peace and everything's great and it'll just fall into place. Like, you're a go-getter. You actually put things to play, but you don't exhibit the kind of thing. You actually
I have.
Sure.
But I've learned from that. You got to be able to hear your own intuition, that little voice inside of you. If you put yourself in the right vibration before you go and do something, then chances are things will work out. And I learned that lesson through Hard Knocks. So it's not like I always had it. You stick your foot in your mouth a couple times and, you learn to kind of calm down too. Because I do have, a lot of times I do have a lot going on, but the biggest thing I want to do is be able to connect with other people, regardless of what field I'm working in or what's going on, because that's my biggest passion, is connecting with people, hearing their stories, getting to know them, seeing how I can help or contribute to their life. So I think if you really care about other people, they're going to pick up on it too.
Absolutely. Well, this is a good place for us to pick up and have you tell us about this new season of life. So you've been in sales for quite some time, a couple decades now, right? In sales?
Yes, yes. Yeah, my background was tricky and difficult. I ended up through a series of events in our little small town here through the recession, with 5 little kids on my own. From my previous husband, things happened and it was very sudden. And it was very difficult. I had 0 child support, 0 help. I didn't have a formal education. I really, really, really roughed it. So I was bartending and cleaning houses, and I had a catering company, a mobile kitchen. We did all these different things. I very much raised my children with the understanding. I have 5. They're all young adults now, and with some grandchildren, which are marvelous. But
amazing, 5 children.
I have 5. Yeah, young. My youngest just turned 25. So
wow.
Yes, they're all grown, all doing well. Thank God. But I raised my children kind of with the mentality of, hey, we got to be a team. You know, this is the situation we're in. We got to be a team. Was that always easy for them growing up? No. Have they had some issues and growing pains kind of going into adulthood, maybe partially because of some of that? Yes, but they're all amazing adults. But I just got to a point where I was like, life is never going to change. I'm going to be grinding this way, mostly away from my kids, right? I felt like I wasn't spending enough time with my children. So I thought it's never going to change unless I get a formal education. So somehow I decided to add 12 to 14 credits a semester. And I did that for 5 years and ended up with something like 160 credits. I was then hired for a local private club, and I worked for Arnold Palmer Century Golf for 10 years. I never considered myself to be a salesperson. In fact, I always thought I was not a salesperson. That was not something that I could never sell a car, whatever. And never say never, never limit yourself, because you never know where life's going to lead you. And if you're just open to the opportunities, you never know. You never know. So, I mean, right out of the pocket, not knowing what I was doing in a completely different field, an office setting, public eye wasn't a problem for me. I'd always been a performer since I was very young. But I became the top producer for the nation and held on to that for almost the entire 10 years that I was there. And that was very much sales related, very much. But not just sales related. I was responsible for the members of the club. So I was responsible for connecting them. Most of them were moving in from out of state, or at least out of town. So they were leaving friends and family behind. So I did that for a while. It was all sales based, but it was also, to me, it was very genuine. It didn't feel like sales. It felt like I was connecting a need. And then I made a very difficult decision to leave that field and to go into title and escrow. And so I was with title and escrow for actually this month, which is 3 years. And this is my last month with them, just helping. I'm finishing out our adopted child program before I officially leave. It's all right here on my desk. So we have 150 kids we're trying to get adopted for Christmas right now. We're just about done. So anyway, we touched on, I don't know if we've touched on my mother's journey with cancer, but because I was raised in South America, it's all very natural. In fact, we grew a lot of our own food. We made our own things. I started baking bread when I was like 15. We made our mayonnaise, our tomato sauce, our peanut butter, everything. And so it was very healthy, right? We weren't exposed to a lot of the free radicals and different chemicals that we have in our food here. The ground was a little more well taken care of. So where we grew our food, the nutrition value of that food was better. So I was very, very healthy. I actually never had a cavity until I was in my 40s, which people usually don't understand. But the fluoride's not, I mean, there's just so many different things about that. So I got a really good boost, and I always considered myself to be very health oriented. All 3 of my girls have minor disabilities. My middle daughter is actually on SSI with a disability. She developed that disability when she was just shy of 15 years old. So of course, I threw myself as a mom into natural health and into alternative remedies to just support our bodies, because I felt like our bodies are so amazing. And I was pretty successful doing that for my kids, right? And then about 6 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with triple negative stage 3C breast cancer. And she surprised all of us by saying, I'm not going to pursue any traditional Western medicine. I'm going to do everything naturally. And she completely cured herself. So I tell you, it was quite the journey. She lived with me for 10 months of that journey. So we very much went on to it into it kind of together in some aspects. She has since developed a different type of cancer. So that's a long story, but she did cure herself. She was completely cancer-free for 5 years, and she's doing well. She's fighting, but it's a struggle. But back in July of this year, she decided to go down to a place called Hope for Cancer in Tijuana, Mexico. And the tumors had come across her chest. So she had completely lost any use in her left arm at the time. So my dad was actually booked with a bunch of pre-registered parties. He's a balloon artist, a very good balloon artist down the valley. He does all of the schools, and he had the school routes during the summer months, and he couldn't go down there with her. So one thing led to another, and I was the only one that could really pick up and kind of leave. And so I went down there, and I was down there with her for 10 days, and it was quite the experience. I'm still kind of absorbing and processing that whole experience because it was really, really powerful. My relationship, my spirituality took a deeper turn, which was beautiful. I was talking to God again, and I hadn't really done that intimately in years. And I feel like I went through some of the 5 stages of grief very, very quickly, like rapid cycled through them. This might sound bizarre to people because I am a very strong, self-made, independent woman. But I had never driven on my own that far before. I always had a child in the car or a friend in the car or my husband with me. I had never gone and gotten into the car and driven that far on my own and then gone into a foreign country on my own like that. So even though I'm so well traveled and I'm so independent, that was nerve-wracking for me to do that. So going down, I was very nervous. I had been in a very high stress place in my life. So I kind of went into the situation that's kind of high level of stress. And so many things happened so quickly. I made some very firm decisions with my husband and I, and even my mother was instrumental. I decided that I had a calling in the field of natural health and plant-based medications, not really medication, plant-based supplements, right? We can't really call them medications. They come out of the earth, and our body does too. And so I really felt like I had this calling. It became very, very clear to me. Coming back to the States, I had a great drive. It was a wonderful time. I played devotional books the whole way and songs. And I experienced like a life change, like one of those pivotal moments in your life where you're just like, I've never been clearer for where my life is going. That's amazing. Yeah, coming back, I was able to just I don't know. I don't know if I got into a different vibration, but I started running into different people with different health ailments, and one thing led to another, and I'm seeing lives change now. So
I want to say hi to Cynthia real quick. Cynthia is a great friend. She's an amazing go-getter herself, and hopefully one day you'll get to meet Cynthia too. But she says, embrace every moment and live to the fullest. And she also says your mother is amazing. So I just wanted to give that shout out to Cynthia. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us on this conversation. And Cynthia, if you got questions, let us know. Yeah, that's amazing, Mishael, that you talk about how it's like you took that step of faith, doing something that you were uncomfortable, and yet you knew you needed to get to this destination. And then how that ended up, just that step of obedience, that step of trust, in God. I believe that probably is what opened the door to the opportunities that came along, like you said. And then suddenly you had these and sometimes I wonder, is it that there are more opportunities, or is it just now we become aware of the opportunities?
That's a really good question. Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like the company that I partner with, I spent a lot of time and a lot of research into. My vision is very clear. I want to give back to the world. I want to help people with their natural health. I want to help people be independent financially. Especially right now in our nation, we need this so much in both of those areas. Who doesn't want to look better, feel better, make more money, right? Be more independent. Money doesn't buy us happiness, but being broke doesn't either, right? We need options. We need to be able to give back. And that just kind of opens the doors for us. So it's a necessity. But I just feel like there's it's such a big need right now. And yes, I feel like that opportunity has probably been there lurking around the corner for a while, but we have to be in the right places in our lives to be able to accept the challenge, accept the opportunity. You know, how many times have we maybe not accepted an opportunity because of fear or because of logistics or, you know, whatever the case may be. So I'm just really determined to help people see that they can think outside the box. They can be independent. They can be healthy without the normal means, right? Of doing things. Just have an open mind, and you never know where it can lead you.
Tell us, I know, you know, you were talking about your mom's bout with cancer, and really, and you've been going, and this is an ongoing journey. This isn't,
Yes.
you know,
yes.
And that inspired you for this season of what you're doing too, because you're seeing the benefits of going back to basically the basics, going back to the natural, going back to those things. So tell us some of the maybe some of the testimonials that you've had when you have helped these people. And I want to put your information here. You want to follow Mishael on social media. She's on Facebook. Are you also on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, but I'm newer at Instagram. So I've been on Facebook for many, many, many years, building business off Facebook. And so now I've just kind of really started stepping over. So I'm still kind of new with Instagram, but I have a ton of stuff on Facebook, a lot of different lives, a lot of different kind of tutorials. I'm going to start doing health talks and things like that. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trained nutritionist. This is just something that's become a big passion of mine that I've really thrown myself into. I went down the rabbit hole and I never came out, basically.
Right. And there's something to be said though with even just experience. So yeah, you're not a doctor, and you know, you don't have whatever the certifications and the letters behind your name, but what you do have is the experience and the witnessing of miracles.
Yes.
And I think, you know, those things, and it's not that you're telling people don't talk to your doctor.
No, not at all.
You know, right? Like partner up with your doctor and see if he thinks or she thinks this might help, and let's see what happens. So tell us some of the testimonials that really stick out in your mind.
Yeah, sure. One of the main ones is the gal right here in Prescott Valley, Arizona, that I also make health shots, and I deliver them around town. They're raw turmeric and ginger and just some different fruits and vegetables and things like that. And they're for autoimmune disease, basically inflammation, right? Turmeric and ginger are going to be really good for inflammation and immunity. And I started doing that, I don't know, off and on, probably 6 months ago, regularly now. I make them every week and deliver them on Tuesdays. But I met a young woman in Prescott Valley, and actually I had set, at the time I was working full-time still. I was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week at corporate position. And I started doing these juices kind of on the side just because it was a passion. I wanted people to feel better. And I'd been giving them advice about, hey, make this juice. And most of them don't have a juicer, time, you know, whatever. So I started doing it kind of like a passion. But I had set up, I think it was a 5 o'clock or 5:30 meeting spot locally for anybody who was ordering them to come get them from me, because I didn't have the time to drive them all over the place at that time. So I had them in my car and I was driving around, and I had a cancellation. And this young lady's in Prescott Valley. And I just felt this thing in my heart that I needed to take these to her. So I listened to it. I text her. She works at a dentist office. She came out and met me. And when she came out, and she knows this. So she knows this story, and I have permission to share it. But when she came out, she was wearing a mask because she was in a procedure. She had her hair pulled back up, you know, it's kind of like the scrub attire, right? And she came out and she was bent over. She had open sores I could see on her face. She had hardly any hair. I'd say probably 85% of her hair was gone. And I just, my heart broke. I was just like, oh my gosh, but what do you say, right? In the moment. So I just said, hi. You know, we've been following each other on social media for years and years and years, and I'd never met her personally. And so I just said, can I ask you why you're ordering my shots? And she said, well, I have horrible inflammation due to an autoimmune disease. And I developed an autoimmune disease after battling COVID and having long COVID. And I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I went to my doctor, I got my medications. And before I knew it, I was on, I think, 6 or 7 different medications within a year. And she just didn't feel like she was getting any better. She felt like she was getting worse. So she was trying to wean herself off of her medications. I hear this a lot, actually. Don't wean yourself off of your medications without giving your body what it needs to help you get through that situation. That can be dangerous. So let's work with your doctor, work with me, whatever, to make sure that we're feeding the body. It needs to be a symbiotic relationship, right? Your body needs to have what it needs to be able to come off of anything. I've done this myself one time, and I didn't do it properly, and I had some problems. So just be careful with that. But anyway, so I literally grabbed her by the shoulders, and I was practically crying. And I said, if you will invest some time and money and let me connect you with some products, I know I can help. And so she started crying too. And she was like, yes. So I met with her. We put her on a regimen. I have some really high-end collagens and digestive enzymes and just some other really almost like, I want to say, miracle working supplements. And I kid you not, within 2 weeks, she had baby hairs growing on her head. Her sores were all covered up. Now we're probably 7 or 8 months into this journey, and she looks like a different person. She had told me, she said, I was a single mom. I always had to work 5, 6, 12-hour shifts. It was never a problem for my day. I was barely getting through 3 8-hour shifts. I'd have to go home, go straight to bed. My 86-year-old mother lives with me. I could barely get her around to her doctor's appointments, et cetera, et cetera. Within, I want to say 3 weeks to a month, she was working all her shifts again. She was cleaning her house on weekends. She was running her mom around to her doctor's appointments. It's just like a miracle. It really, truly is a miracle. I look at her and I just feel so much joy and satisfaction that this beautiful woman is living. She's like, I'll never be without these products again. Like, I'll never not follow this regimen. So, yeah, there's that one. I have dozens of ladies who have fallen into the semaglutide craze right now with the weight loss shots, right? And that's fine. I know that many of us, we need to lose weight for health reasons. There are some issues coming to the surface with the synthetic shots and the injections. And I've now partnered with a company that just won the most prestigious award in the world for natural GLP enhancement that will strengthen your whole body from the inside out, feed your muscles instead of robbing from them. So I just want people to know that there's different alternatives out there that they can go to. Of course, not if it's an emergency situation, of course not. But, there are things that we can do. Try supplement with your medications. We can feed the body. If you've been on an injection for weight loss and if you lost your weight, you might find yourself starting to gain it back because the synthetics actually interfere with your natural GLP hormone, which is a hormone that's produced in your gut. That's what those injections are causing. It's causing a boost to this hormone, which helps you rapidly lose weight. But then when you go off of it, because it's synthetic, the body kind of freaks out and it actually can interfere with that and cut that down to where you're actually can end up gaining that back and then not having the muscle mass and the stamina to be able to keep up with keeping that weight off. This product can feed you and help put those things back into your body and activate that naturally. So it's just one of many things: collagen, GLP-1, full spectrum gut care. I mean, that's everything. Our gut is our second brain, right? It's actually connected to our brain. So it's just important to know these things. I think that even many of us, as I had myself, thought that I knew so much about natural health. And then I kind of went down this rabbit hole and I went, wait, things start to connect, right? There's different things that we can do to help. So yeah, weight loss is a big thing right now.
Well, and we can understand why, because the foods that we eat are not helpful to our bodies, and that's the result. It disrupts the hormones and metabolism, all those things. And so, yeah, weight loss is probably very much like a number one issue, I feel like, among Americans. And, you go to even other countries, like when Chris and I visited Europe in 2018, it was an interesting visit because that was the first time we had ever been outside of the country. spent about 2 weeks there. And the foods, a lot of the ingredients that we have here in the United States are banned in Europe, first of all. So the food tastes better, the food tastes healthier, and it's fresher because they've got those fresh markets. So people go to the markets daily, to these fresh markets. Which for us Americans, that's kind of a foreign concept to even think about going to the fresh butcher shop and that sort of thing. But also we noticed looking around, and like after a couple of days of being there, I was like, Chris, is it just me, or I haven't seen anybody obese in the last 7 days? And he's like, no, you're right. And not that everybody's like anorexic, looking or anything like that, but there was no obesity. Right. And I found that to be amazing compared to back home here, where just around every corner you'll run into somebody who, is really struggling.
There's a lot of people will ask me why I do so much to detox. Because I'll do, I have my juices. I make ours for my husband and I with quite a bit more ingredients in them. And then I add all kinds of tinctures and apple cider vinegar and olive oil and all of these things. I am 52 years old. I don't do fillers. Everything that you have seen, I'm starting to show some age in my neck, and it's all going to happen. Right. But I don't do the synthetic, beauty concepts, retinol, any of that. I don't do any of that. Everything I do is from the inside out with some very minimal outside effort. But I do a lot of detox, and I do it daily. Well, I try to do it daily for the most part. That's the goal. But I add so much stuff to my juices, and I do so many things, and I actually will post it. And I do get, the whatevers out there saying, you don't need to detox that much. People don't understand. Free radicals are everywhere in our country. It's in our soil. It's in our air. It's in our cleaning products. It's in our homes. It's in our detergent. It's in our laundry soap. It's in our shampoo. So being aware of all of those items, I'm not saying go throw everything out in your house, but just being aware of what is in your home and in your environment. And then, yes, taking an effort. You should be drinking a gallon of water a day. All of these things. I know that these are struggles for us, but there are ways that we can actually break those habits and create new ones. The more water you put into your body, the more your body will crave the water. So if you can just break through that threshold of choking down the water, not one day, work up to it, not in one day, your body will actually start to crave the water. Make sure you're putting clean water in your body. So it's all this stuff that you have to kind of be aware of. It's not something to be scared of or afraid of. It's just something to be aware of, that we are fighting in our environment in our country specifically. Yes, I've been all over South America. I've been all over the Caribbean. I've been to Europe. I have friends that are currently in Bali. So, and every time we travel, it's very interesting to me. I mean, look at the size of the refrigerators in Europe, right? Yeah. They're tiny. They're just little like bar fridges because they don't keep a lot of products in, groceries on hands. They go and they buy them every day fresh. So yeah, it's just a different lifestyle than we've kind of gotten away from here.
It is. And even down to, I was reading an article the other day about how women are exposed to a lot more and tend to have more issues because we start grooming ourselves with lotion versus the boys. They don't groom themselves till much later age. So they're not putting the lotions and doing all the, fragrancy hair sprays and whatever. But, as girls from a young age, where we think of our looks and care and that sort of thing. And we don't realize that even just the lotions that we use. So yes, you can get cheap lotion, but cheap lotion has a lot of ingredients in it that are not healthy for our body. And we forget that the skin is the largest organ in the body. So if whatever you put on your skin gets absorbed to the inside. And so reading this article was a real eye opener, saying that, that's why a lot of women are exposed to the cancers.
Yes.
At a huge amount of numbers.
Our tampons, our makeup, things that we started, using when we were 12 or 13 years old sometimes. So yes, that's why you do see a larger breast cancer, cervical, ovarian, all these different things. So again, it's not something to be scared of. It's just something to be aware of and to teach our daughters to be aware of. And there are really easy, natural alternatives to many of these things. And will I say that my house is completely toxin free? No, it's not. It's something that I'm working on. But I have definitely taken steps to at least make it better. Even my dog gets a probiotic every day. I mean, I lost a dog that I love dearly to cancer, and I was like, never again. I was convinced it was his kibble. And so really started that this was part of this whole awakening process. This was back in 2017, I believe, that we lost this dog. And now my beautiful puppy, who's around here somewhere, he eats raw. He eats a raw diet, and he gets a multiple vitamin, and he gets a digestive enzyme, and he's super healthy. Vets are always very surprised by this. It takes some effort, but unquestionable love from those fur babies. They deserve health too.
Yeah. And those are the things we need to, I think, reconsider, like shift the mindset is, because let's face it, or eating healthy is very expensive, right? If you're going to go look for organic, if you're going to look for things that don't have toxins in it, it's a lot more than if you just went and bought the regular processed food. And so when you've got a family that, when you're feeding a family, and especially with today's prices, that makes it very difficult to do it. But at the same time, if we're spending a lot of money on health medications and treatments and stuff, but we're not investing in the quality of the foods, we might want to shift our perspective and say, maybe we need to start really looking at investing more in what we put on the inside and on our skins, right? Versus, and then
right. Do you know what a helicopter ride? Yeah, what a helicopter ride costs if you have a stroke? Do you know what an ambulance ride costs? Do you know what 2 weeks in the hospital is? Do you know what a chronic illness is going to cost you? And when you look at it like that, it really starts to put your life into perspective. When people say that they have a life or death experience and it makes them reevaluate their lives, I see this happen to people all the time. So it's just a matter of where our priorities, and you don't have to do everything at once. Make sure that your meats that you're buying don't have antibiotics and hormones injected into them. You can get them at the grocery store. They're not the best, but it's a heck of a lot better than going to Walmart and buying that big tray of chicken that you have no idea what's in it. Just follow the basic 12 dirty dozen. Make sure when you're bringing your fruits and vegetables back home that you are washing them correctly. This is a huge deal. If you're washing your fruits and vegetables correctly, they should be submerged for half an hour, and you will see if you go to my Facebook page and you scroll through it, I talk a lot about this on my page, and I will show you some results of the greases and the dirt and the bugs that come out of just your fruits and vegetables. So you want to make sure you're washing them correctly. And keep in mind too, when something says organic on it in our labels in our grocery stores, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's somewhere between 30 to 40% that it actually has to be organic in order to wear that label. So you need to actually read the ingredients on the label. Even Walmart has started carrying some pretty decent products now because it's a trend, right? I feel like after COVID, a lot of us kind of started to go, there's got to be a better way, right? And a lot of us started to kind of go, I want to be healthier. And I believe it's 90% what you put in your body. Yeah. So you just got to be careful, either willingly or unwillingly what we put in our bodies, right?
Right. Yeah, right. Well, walk us through a little bit when you say wash your vegetables correctly. I know we'll probably have some viewers be like, what does she mean?
Okay. Yeah. So this is how I wash and again, on Facebook, you can go through, I've got pictures and everything, but I have big stainless steel bowls. And actually lately I've been using a cooler with a liner in it. But you need to, and I'm sure there's many ways that are effective. This is the way I do it. I submerge my fruits and vegetables in warm water, not cold. Don't make it hot. It'll just make your veggies go bad quicker. But warm water with some salt, not much, maybe a couple, depending on the size of the bowl. And then I do baking soda, good amount of baking soda, and then vinegar. And when you do that, it's going to start to kind of blow up a little bit. Just make sure you're pushing your veggies down into that every couple minutes. Let them sit there for 30 minutes. Then use a light brush and brush them off. Again, rinse in warm water and let them air dry. I have a towel that's a 100% cotton towel that I actually put on my kitchen counter, and I let everything air dry. That goes for strawberries. I do my ginger, my turmeric, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots. It's going to be specifically important for veggies that you're not going to peel, of course. But even like oranges, right? If you're peeling an orange or a cutie or all these things that we like to, the tangerines and the tangelos or whatever, my husband loves those, so he buys those. But you're going to peel them, but you're going to peel them with your hands, and then you're going to grab the fruit with your hands. So just make sure you're washing it correctly. It's really, really important. And then what happens if you keep your water? You'll see that water is black, and sometimes you'll actually see. Take your little labels, your little price tag things off first, because you want to get that glue off.
That's good.
So that's what I do.
That's a good tip. Now, do you have it already pre-measured, your salt, your baking soda, and your vinegar?
Honestly, I used to, and I don't remember what those measurements were. I have a bowl that's, I think, a 4-gallon bowl, my stainless steel bowl. I bought it off of, I think, Amazon years and years and years ago. But it's a stainless steel bowl, and I think it's 4 gallons. And I think I do about 3/4 of a cup of baking soda and about a cup of vinegar. I think that's more or less. I eyeball it now, but I think that's more or less. You can kind of tell because you're going to feel it in the water. The water should feel kind of soft. It's hard to explain. And then as you're kind of mixing it around, you'll see it. It'll start bubbling up and stuff, and you can kind of see stuff coming out. Grapes, I do red grapes, organic red grapes. It's very high detoxicant, so I put that in my juices. Those are filthy. They're so dirty. So make sure, don't pick out of the grape thing in the grocery store.
These are great tips. These are good practical things, because a lot of people don't think of that. They think we can just run it underwater and it's good to go, so
just watch a cooking video. Watch a cooking video on YouTube or something, and watch somebody take a thing of celery and cut the end off, and then just cut it up and throw it in their soup or whatever. I cringe every time. I'm like, oh, just at least rinse it.
I guess it makes you wonder what they do in the restaurants too, huh?
Exactly. Yes, for sure.
That salad, that $15, $20 salad that you order, is it clean?
Yeah. I mean, I eat the salads out, but yeah, no, it's true. Every time now that I've gotten more into this, especially into the nutrition and what's in our food side of it, every time I eat out at a restaurant, I'm like, ooh. But, I also, I take this really incredible full spectrum digestive enzyme, and I actually carry it in my purse now. And I take it anytime I have to eat out anywhere for any reason, which we enjoy. My husband and I are foodies. We love going different places and trying the foods and stuff. So I just make sure we have them. If it's something that's more processed, like a pasta or something heavier with heavy gravies or heavy soup, I will actually take a couple of those digestive enzymes right before I eat. And that's going to help, not so much with chemicals and stuff, but it's going to definitely help you digest your food. Here's a fun fact that I don't know if most people know. When we're born, we are born with our digestive enzymes in our pancreas to last us our whole life. We don't make any more.
Wow.
We don't make any more. So what happens, depending now, have we seen the way our students in college eat? Starving students, right? It's all ramen and instant mac and cheese. It's okay. We've all done it. We've all been there. But what happens is when your body has to break down a processed food, it uses more of those digestive enzymes. So the more you have to use due to a poor diet earlier in your life, the sooner you're going to run out of those digestive enzymes. Typically, when we hit about 40, much less 50, and maybe even sometimes in our 30s, depending on how we've eaten, we're out of those enzymes. So what is the number one thing our body has to do in order to survive? It's break down our food, right? So when we run out of these digestive enzymes, our body goes a little bit into that kind of fight or flight mentality. And so what it does is it starts looking for other enzymes in our body that they can steal to try to help break down these enzymes. That's where you're getting a lot of, all of a sudden I have a gluten intolerance. All of a sudden I have a lactose intolerance, or I have horrible brain fog. or even fatigue, it can all play into the fact that our digestive enzymes are out. So I have a digestive enzyme right now, which I believe to be the best on the planet. As far as I'm concerned, I think everybody should be on it. We've given it to newborns that have had digestive enzymes by sprinkling it into their milk or onto, however they're taking their milk. It can work for all ages. It has worked for all ages. My husband had horrible acid reflux and doesn't anymore. So it was all a matter of how we were breaking down our food. If you don't break down your food correctly, you can't break down your nutrition correctly. Right. Therefore, your body is not getting the nutrition no matter how healthy you're eating. If your gut biome is not there, you're not getting the nutrition. So it's really important. My dog gets one even.
That's great. So Cynthia was asking, the fruits and vegetable wash from Trader Joe's, is that good to use?
As long as it's not plastic.
So how do you know?
It should be glass or stainless steel.
Oh, you mean the container the
container that you're washing? I think that's what she's asking. As long as it's not a plastic container, it should be glass or stainless steel.
I think actually there might be a fruit and vegetable wash.
The solution? Oh, the solution? Yeah. I haven't looked at it. Honestly, I haven't looked at it. So I don't know the answer to that question. I would assume from Trader Joe's it would be okay. I would just look at the label and the ingredients in that, Cynthia, and just see, make sure there's no chemical-like ingredients that they're using to strip anything off the outside of the veggies. Sometimes it's hard to tell unless we actually read the ingredients on the label.
Got it. So the simpler, like if you understand the ingredients, that's probably a good indicator.
If you don't, you can always Google the individual ingredients. I've done that many, many times because, like I said, I'm not a professional, so there's a lot of things I don't recognize. But typically, if it's something on a label that I can't pronounce, it kind of raises my hackles just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for answering that, because I bet a lot of people do use solutions, to wash the vegetables. And
I know there's some good ones out there. I'm just not familiar with them. So I wouldn't really know how to answer that question. I would just look at the labels. Yeah.
No, your concoction sounds pretty inexpensive.
Super inexpensive.
Baking soda.
Yeah. The big thing of vinegar is like $3, and the big thing of baking soda is somewhere around there too. And I do a lot of fruits and vegetables because I do the juicing and I do offer my juices to others and things like that. So I do a lot, and that one of those will last me, one of each will last me a month at least. So for just a small household, it's very inexpensive. And then just table salts. I just add the table salt because to me, it gives it a little extra kick. You can also buy, I think they're called ionizers. I used to use those too. If you're small, I just can't do it for large amounts. But that can work too. And that's just warm water, salt, and ionizer. And I believe you can buy them off of, I think there's some on Amazon. You could probably get them in like a Bed Bath & Body Works, maybe. Just look them up online. But that you would put that at the bottom of the bowl and it ionizes the water, and that'll pull those toxins out too. Yeah.
Well, and probably, even like the things to consider is the water that we drink. That's a whole nother.
So I'm on a well. We're in a community well out here, and our water is actually really good. I wasn't happy with some of the minerals in it. So I bought a dripper, the 3-gallon dripper. We have it on our counter, and all of the water, this is my gallon, this is my water for the day. All of our water goes through that. And you want to make sure there's no fluoride in it either. That's what we do with our water. It's probably a little overkill. But I did actually, my last doctor's appointment where they pulled all my blood work, my doctor sat there. I should have got this in print. I should have had him print it out and sign it. But he literally sat there and he said all of my minerals and vitamins were so spot on. He'd never seen anything like it.
That's
so
great.
He literally said, whatever plant supplement, he goes, they're plant supplements, right? I said, yeah. He goes, I can tell by your absorption rate, whatever supplements you're taking, don't stop.
That's great.
And that was 6 months of me taking these supplements. I had done a complete 180. So,
okay. Yeah. So Cynthia must have looked it up. Purified water, natural cleansing agent derived from coconut oil and corn oil, grapefruit seed extract, and lemon orange extract.
Yeah. That sounds pretty good. The corn oil is not the best, but yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Good. Well, Cynthia's quite a healthy person. So whatever she's doing, I think she's doing correctly, because she doesn't look her age either at all. She's moving in a bikini. So,
I can't wait to meet her.
Yeah, you guys would just love each other. They're just, yeah, she's amazing. So absolutely, that is amazing, Mishael. Thank you so much for sharing your wells of wisdom. Her business is called Wells of Youth, right? Wells of Youth.
Yes.
And absolutely get in touch with Mishael. Get a hold of her, message her, DM her. She's actually pretty easy to look up and find information. And if you can't, for some reason, find her, let me know. I will get you connected with Mishael because she can absolutely help you walk down a journey of health. And, you know, many times when we think about the American dream, we think about, you know, living the American dream is success in owning a home, having a successful business. So we think in the terms of material possessions sometimes, but we forget that the American dream also incorporates the abundant life incorporates not just wealth, but it also includes health. And without the health, we can't enjoy our wealth. So, you know, I think our health is so important because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're spending your time, you know, sick and can't enjoy, you know, the life that you've built, it's actually, I feel like, you know, what was the point kind of thing. So I want to emphasize that part of the abundant life that Jesus came to deliver to us was not just wealth and being able to pay our bills and being able to, you know, enjoy life in that way, but truly to be healthy, to be in a place where we can have peace and know that we have the energy and being able to not have to worry about having to go to doctor all the time. Like I hear a lot of retirees, they say, okay, I retired, but now I spend my time going to doctors all day long. And it's so sad because I'm thinking you worked so hard and now the end of your life season, this is how you spend it. So I do want you to, you know, make sure you reach out to someone like Mishael who has a lot of knowledge and experience. And as you can see, she, you know, she not only is just counseling and giving information, but she's living it. That's the other key too, because, you know, you can go see a lot of physicians, but I don't know about you, but when a physician is not healthy, and you can see there's many of them who are not healthy and they're giving you tips, I kind of second guess, like, should I be taking advice, you know, from someone who's not applying it to their own life? So anyway, I just wanted to just really encourage people to get a hold of you, Mishael. This hour went by so fast, but any last words you would like to share with us?
No, thank you for letting me be on. Zena, you're amazing. I wish you nothing but the best. You know I love you, girl. Look at what you're doing. I mean, talk about the American dream. I give it right back to you. Yes, I feel like I'm living the American dream too. It's all about taking advantage of what our beautiful country has for us. So thank you for having me on. I look forward to connecting with many people after this. Should be fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And thank you, Cynthia, for being on here. And you're always such a joy. And thank you for asking questions and participating. It always makes that fun when you do that.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing this out. Oh, Cynthia, you're so sweet. Zena, you may want to change your name to the Human Dream Maker. Thank you, Cynthia. I will consider that. Yeah. That's awesome. All right, you guys. I'm going to say goodbye for now, but stick around, Mishael. I'll be back in to chat with you in just a little bit here. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much to our viewers. And if you are watching this on the replay, absolutely share this out and get a hold of Mishael because she obviously just knows her stuff and is helping a lot of people's lives get changed and being able to get back to the mission and their purpose and living out the purpose. Because without health, we have a very difficult time living out the mission and the purpose that God has placed on our lives. So get a hold of Mishael. And American Dream Makers, go out there, be blessed, be fruitful, and multiply your gifts, talents, and resources. And we will see you the next time.